So we're going to move on to our last discussion point now. And I know this is something you're passionate about because we've seen you post about it. And I think it's just one of those topics that not a lot of teachers know about. And those that do, there's a lot of controversy perhaps around it, or how the way people think about it. So we're going to talk now about shared parental leave, or SPL as it's often shortened to. I'm not going to say too much because I know you might just want to talk about it, but I would like to start you off with a question, really, just to explain to the listeners, what is shared parental leave and what does it have to do with teaching?
Well, I actually only found out about it when I got pregnant. As the title might suggest, it's mainly for, well, not just women, but women going on maternity leave, and then any partners that they have to take parental leave as well. So you can share the leave, but particularly for teachers, it's a great opportunity to add additional income to your maternity pay, which is notoriously poor. So I found out about it from a colleague, and my school have never done it before. So it's completely new to my school. And when I talked to other people, not many people knew about it either. And my husband's in the RAF and he managed to do it as well. And I don't think anyone he knew had done it before. So like I say, it's one of those things that I think people may have heard of, but it just sounds like something that's too much work and isn't worth it. Let me tell you now, it is definitely worth it. So look into it. But it is, obviously, it works differently for different people's situations, but for a teach, but you can basically share your parental leave. So as a woman going on maternity leave, you can take up to, I don't know, for teaching 39 weeks, you'll get some sort of pay, and then you can get 52 weeks. But you can share that first 39 weeks with the other parent of the child, right, so that while one of you is at work, the other person is at home, and you can swap that in, I think, up to about 3 blocks. So it's particularly beneficial for teachers because we're contracted over the holidays. We can return to work during the holidays, in inverted commas, return to work, but get paid for that. So you can get paid for being at work, but you're not actually in work because it's during the holidays. So that's a way of getting extra pay, but it can also benefit you in the way it's benefited us, that my husband has done it. And whilst I'm at work, he is at home with my child. So he's managed to get that time off at the same time. So that's been particularly beneficial for us.
So actually in that example, you're both at home together, aren't you? Because you're not actually at work.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's amazing.
I've seen some examples, like case studies, well, not case studies, but just examples of people talking about it where they've actually ended up getting like 5-6 more weeks across the year of paid maternity leave. And like you said, maternity leave in teaching is so terrible compared to a lot of other private and public services. You know, we've compared it before, I think, with the police force. And so I don't blame anyone for wanting to do it, but I think the controversy comes a little bit around, it feels really cheeky because you're technically returning to work when, you know, when we know we're at home. And I think that puts off a lot of people. How do we get around this? How do we convince more people that teachers, we do so much work? Like this is this is the least that could be done for us as teachers. What do we do?
The way I've kind of looked at it is because obviously I sort of thought, oh, the more money they're paying me, the less money that's going to the kids. That's the kind of way that I sort of thought about it. But then I thought, well, firstly, I am contracted for those, you know, that is part of my work. I'm contracted for those times. I go over and above all the time as it is, but also it is a legitimate thing. It's a government scheme or policy, whatever you want to call it. It's not just for teachers. It's something that the government allowing anyone to do in the public sector. So why would you not take advantage of that? In the end, I sort of see it as money that's going to benefit my child. So why would I turn that down because I feel a bit guilty because other people are doing it? So I'm not going to get on my moral high horse and be like, well, I'm not going to take that money, because you better believe I am going to take that money if I get it. It's a bit like returning to work, which again is what I'm doing. And I was a bit dubious about it until a few people convinced me it's normal. I'm returning to work at the beginning of the summer holidays, because why would I not get that money over the summer holidays and then actually go back in September, which feels, again, it does feel cheeky, but I think we're so used to feeling guilty all the time as teachers for doing things that we think are maybe taking away from school or taking away from children, that we forget to look after ourselves. And you would recommend it to family and friends, so why would you not do it for yourself, basically?
It's so true. And I think something that I want to touch on there, what's really powerful is, and maybe you can talk to this as someone who's now had a child, do you feel like, because you alluded to it there, like, I'm going to take the money, it's my kid. Do you feel like when now you've had your child and, you know, you've read about these schemes and it became more real that you were going to have this, you know, person who's dependent on you, did you feel more confident then to be able to go to SLT and kind of, in a way, there'll be some people out there at schools who are scared to do that, who like they don't have that open door policy, like you described it as a thing where you can go and speak to your SLT. I know a lot of women who I've spoken to about it whose response is they don't even necessarily feel guilty, but they don't feel like they can do that in their school. They feel like they're rocking the boat. They feel like it's going to be detrimental to them. And I've had someone say to me, well, I'm worried because even if they do put it through because it's all okay and I know it's legal, that they're going to treat me differently when I go back eventually.
I mean, I've had a few messages on Facebook about that because I think I posted about it once and quite a few people DM'd me and said a similar thing. I mean, I totally get it because you don't want to rock the boat. And I do think, I can only speak on behalf of being a woman, but I do think being a woman as well, you don't want to, you know, that you feel like you're taking the mick, taking 9 months plus out of work and being paid, even though it's not very much. But it is a full-time job and you need that time off to look after a child. And it's just, you know, kind of basic. You need the money to do it as well. But I just think it's actually like the government have allowed it to happen. So why should you not ask for it? The website Teacher SPL has loads of advice and help on there. And I think the lady who runs it, called Kinza, runs a service where she will write the letters for you, write the email for you so that you've got all the proper language in place if you wanted to do it via email rather than in person. But it does take bravery to be the first person to step up and do it. But you just, I don't know. It's just, I get it. It's a brave thing to do, but you're going to benefit it from the end of the day. And you think if you want other women in your school, other women in other schools to be able to benefit from it, which you think most people do, then we need to make it more widely known and more people need to take the step and actually ask for it.
And you're doing that now. That's what you're doing right now, which is why, you know, we really wanted you to get you on here as well and talk about it because what you've done is really powerful. You've got to think like you've put a lot of money in a lot of mums' pockets.
I hope so.
You have. It's really good. And I know you've been brave and been the first person to do it yourself. And I think the more we normalize it, the better, because like you said, the government don't give us much, do they?
No.
So if they're going to let us do this, then absolutely we should be taking that opportunity.
I think the most powerful point you said there, and the one that I would use now if I'm ever talking to someone who's a bit like, oh, I don't know about it, to try and convince them, is the fact that, and you said this, you know, we already work in the holidays. We already give so much to this job. This job takes advantages of teachers to the nth degree, you know. Don't feel bad about this very, very, very small thing that you can take advantage of, because it's still a drop in the ocean compared to, you know, what your goodwill is going towards in this job. It's the least you are owed in this job. So take it.
And you are entitled to it. It's not them going over and above and doing you a favour. You're actually entitled to it. It's a bit like saying, oh, don't pay me over the summer holidays. Take off 6 weeks off my... Like, you're not going to do that, are you? No. So you're entitled to it. It's just a shame it's not something that's a given. We actually have to ask for it rather than it being an automatic thing. Yeah. So...
I think that'd be really powerful, wouldn't it, if schools kind of take that approach of taking this, stepping out of the, you know, the backseat and saying, guys, you know, this is a thing that happens. If anyone is thinking of going on maternity, we're actively going to suggest this because it can only help you guys. And I think that would be such a powerful thing if maybe talking about it more, we can get more SLT, more people in charge to kind of be the first step so that they don't feel as awkward. That'd be really powerful, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd be so interested to know. And maybe we've got some SLT listeners out there, head teachers maybe. And Dylan, we usually do a poll on Spotify underneath our episode. I think we might do this as a poll because I'm so curious as to just who's heard of it before, particularly SLT. Have you even heard of it? Because I am willing to bet, just from my limited experience of schools and knowing staff, that a lot of SLT and head teachers have never even heard of it before.
Yeah, so... my school hadn't, and they had to go. I sent them the websites to say, I mean, they weren't unwilling, but they just wanted to know more about it. So I sent them the government website and the Teacher SPL website, and they read up about it themselves because they had no idea about it.
Well,
so
maybe this is a change we can push. You know, maybe anyone out there, doesn't matter if you're benefiting from it or not. There's no harm in going to your SLT, you know, next week or whenever you're in, and saying, look, this is a thing. I think it would be a really, really good thing for well-being and something very nice for our school to promote and like take the lead on for teachers. You know, that could be a good move.
Yeah.
Good change.
Can I just add something on in case anyone's listening that is thinking, can they do it? I think you've got, you need to apply at least 8 weeks before the first kind of chunk that you want to take. So if you've already had a baby, it's not too late. You don't have to just apply when you're pregnant. So obviously I think summer's less than 8 weeks away actually, but the next one would be autumn half term. So as long as you apply at least 8 weeks before autumn half term, you can get that week paid. So if anyone's listening and they've had a baby but they think they can't get it, you can. Just saying that.
That is brilliant to know. I will just reiterate the website as well, because I know it's so helpful and you mentioned it earlier. It's www.teachers, as in plural, spl.co.uk. So do visit that website.
We'll put a link in the description as well to this podcast. So if you listen to this, we'll have a link there as well.